don't know if you've ever experienced a moment when someone's pain seems to spread throughout the environment, like a heavy fog. That's how it all began on that gray morning, when the entire city seemed to cry, along with Laura's family. Laura was the kind of woman who seemed born to take care of others, a devoted wife, a loving mother of 2 teenagers, and a loyal friend. Those who knew her said she was incapable of raising her voice to anyone. Her sweet gaze and soft laugh filled the house with life. But behind that constant smile, she hid a weight that was slowly eating away at her, a growing distrust of her own husband, Renato. Renato was always a charismatic man, the kind who could charm an entire room with just a few words. At first, Laura felt lucky, almost blessed to have him by her side. But as the years went by, that spark faded. Renato started coming home late, always with vague excuses, last-minute business trips, and a cell phone that was always in his pocket and always on silent. Laura wasn't naive. Deep down, she could tell something was wrong. It wasn't just the odd hours or the inconsistent apologies. It was the way he avoided her eyes when she asked him the simplest questions. It was the coldness that filled their bedroom. She sensed that her husband, who had once promised to love her above all else, was distant, perhaps too busy with someone else. But how could she confront a man who had always been so convincing? Laura felt like a prisoner of her own uncertainty. For months, she had been brooding over her anguish alone, while her health began to fail. It all started with constant fatigue, then headaches, dizziness. Then came the diagnosis that no one wanted to hear: an aggressive cancer, too advanced for them to be able to do much. The news hit the family like a bombshell. Renato, who had been absent until then, had suddenly become a helpful husband, always. By her side, at the hospital, during appointments, during the most difficult moments. For many, he was the example of a repentant and present man. But for Laura, a cruel doubt remained. Was it the cancer that brought her husband back, or was it guilt? In the last months of her life, Laura vacillated between the desire to clarify everything and the fear of discovering a truth she could not bear. She saw her children trying to maintain hope, while her body wasted away. And Renato, always with a dejected look, but with his cell phone never far from reach. It was one morning in her hospital bed that Laura confided in her best friend, Teresa. "I know he has someone else, but I can't prove it. And maybe there's no more time." These were his last words on the subject. A few weeks later, Laura passed away. The entire town turned out for the wake. The woman who had always spread kindness and tenderness left behind a huge void. The funeral home was filled with family, friends, and colleagues, all in tears and memories. But no one could have predicted what would happen that afternoon. The door to the room opened slowly and clearly. All eyes turned to a young woman with striking beauty and a proud posture. In her arms, a baby of just a few months. She walked to the coffin with determined steps, without hesitation, and there, in front of Laura's body, she said in a low but firm voice, "May you rest in peace. Your suffering is over. Now it's our turn." A piercing silence took over the room. Renato turned pale, his eyes wide, unable to show any reaction. And so, in a single gesture, the lover revealed herself, bringing with her the fruit of betrayal. The shock was immediate. Murmurs arose among those present. Laura's family was in disbelief. Many wanted to throw the woman out of there, while others were paralyzed, not knowing how to react. There, at the wake of his wife who suffered in silence, Renato's darkest secret came to light, exposed in a cruel and public way. Now tell me, if it were you there, in Laura's family's place, what would you do? Would you have been able to remain calm, or would you have reacted differently? Comment below. I really want to know your opinion on this revolting situation. And if you are feeling the same outrage that I felt when I heard about this story, like this video and subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss the next real stories, as shocking as this one.
Hello, my name is Laura. I don't really know where to start. Writing these words, even if no one will read them, helps me organize the whirlwind that has been going through my head. Maybe it's an attempt to leave something of my own, since time seems to be slipping through my fingers. I'm here, in this white hospital room, with wires attached to my weak body, listening to the rhythmic beeping of the machines that keep me awake, alert. And it's funny. While the world outside tries to comfort me, my heart weighs on me for things I've never been able to say. So I decided to write. Me and the Renato, we have been married for almost 20 years. In the beginning, he was everything a young woman like me could dream of, a charismatic, lively, kind man. We fell in love very quickly and got married even faster. Our 2 children, now teenagers, have always been our greatest joy, or at least mine. In the early years, it was easy to believe that love would endure anything. But over time, the little signs began to appear. Unexpected work trips, family dinners where he would skip out on last-minute excuses. His phone was always password protected, and he had a distant, absent look in his eyes when he returned home. At first, I tried to justify it. Life is hard, I said. His job demands a lot. But little by little, the emptiness in our bed began to speak louder than any excuse, and the confident woman I once was fading away. I began to look at myself in the mirror with suspicion. I began to ask myself, am I going crazy? Is this paranoia? That's when I talked to my friend Teresa. She has always been my safe haven. One afternoon, between one coffee and another, I broke down. Teresa, do you think Renato could be cheating on me? She looked at me with a sad look and said, Laura, you've always been so intuitive. If you feel it, it's because something exists. But how could I confront him? I had no proof, just a handful of doubts, cold stares, and lonely nights. And then, as if my body was reacting to all this anguish, I got sick. First came the dizziness, the constant fatigue. Then, a pain in my abdomen that took me to the emergency room. It was there that the doctor gave me the news that no one wants to hear: an aggressive cancer, already in an advanced stage. I felt the ground disappear beneath my feet, not from fear of death, but from the realization that my time with my children was running out. I wasn't ready to let them go. When I told Renato, he cried. For the first time in a long time, I saw real tears in his eyes, and, as if by magic, he became the perfect husband, present at every appointment, loving, attentive. But inside, I knew. Something was wrong. It was guilt, not love. The looks he gave me carried weight. I often caught him in the corner of the room, looking at his cell phone with an expression that was a mix of fear and sadness. One morning, while he was sleeping in the armchair next to me, his cell phone fell to the floor. I couldn't resist. I picked it up, my hands shaking. On the screen, a message from a woman named Patricia. I can't stand hiding anymore. Our son deserves better. My world fell apart. I didn't need anything else. The baby, the lover. Everything confirmed there, in one cruel sentence. But I no longer had the strength to confront him. I was weak. Cancer was consuming me day after day. I looked at Renato, sleeping, and asked myself, why now? Why destroy me when I'm already dying? The next morning, I told everything to Teresa. I cried like I had never cried before. "You don't deserve this, Laura, but you need to rest, take care of yourself, protect yourself." I wanted so much to scream, to confront him, to tell my children, but I couldn't. Maybe out of fear, maybe out of love, or maybe because, deep down, I knew that time wouldn't allow me to. Days later, the disease progressed rapidly. I was hospitalized. And here I am, writing these lines, between one morphine and another, knowing that my end is near. I don't know if Renato realizes that I've found out. He keeps coming here, holding my hand, telling me he loves me, asking for forgiveness in a low voice when he thinks I'm sleeping. But I hear everything. And deep down, I only think about my children. They don't deserve to know, not now, not while they lose their mother. Life is truly cruel. One day you are the beloved woman. The next, you are the betrayed wife, dying alone in a hospital bed. But what hurts me the most is not the betrayal itself. It is knowing that someone had the courage to destroy an entire family, and that an innocent person, a baby, is involved in all of this. I don't know how much longer I have, but if there is justice in this world, let it come. Let the truth not be buried with me. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening to my rant. And tell me, would you have done it differently? Would you have told the truth, confronted the traitor? Please comment below. Your opinion comforts me more than you can imagine. And if this story touched you, like the video and subscribe to the channel to follow the rest of my story. I still have a lot to tell if time allows me. I don't know how much longer I'll have to write. Each day seems harder. My hands are heavy, my body hurts, and my mind wanders between past and present like a boat adrift. But while I still can, I need to keep telling my story. It's all I have left now. Last night, after I wrote my last letter, I stayed awake for hours. Not because of the discomfort in my body. I'm used to that by now. But because of the knot that formed in my chest. I had discovered the betrayal. The existence of a baby, of a woman who occupied a place that was mine. All of this throbbed, like an open wound. And yet I remained silent. I could have shown the message to Teresa and asked her to hand it over to my children, to my family. I could have confronted the Renatuan front of everyone. But I asked myself, at what cost? I am already dying. I did not want my last words to my children to be poison. I did not want the image they have of me to be that of a bitter woman, consumed by hatred. So I carried on as if nothing had happened. This morning he came again. He came into the room with flowers, the same ones he brought every day, as if flowers could erase lies. He sat down next to me and held my hand. "Good morning, my love." His voice was shaking. I could tell. And for the first time in a long time, I looked into his eyes. I saw the fear, the guilt, the desperation he was trying to hide. He knows I know. But we both chose this silent theater. He spent the whole afternoon there, helping me eat, combing my hair, telling old stories as if everything could still go back to the way it was before. But I couldn't hear properly anymore. My mind was far away, trying to understand how a love that was once so pure could have turned into this labyrinth of lies. At night when he went out, Teresa, he appeared. "Laura, you need to protect yourself. Don't carry this weight alone." And I, crying softly, replied, "I don't want to die with hate in my heart, Teresa. I don't want my children to be forced to choose between loving their father and taking revenge for me." She hugged me tightly. We stayed like that, in silence, for long minutes. But inside me, a decision was beginning to form. I no longer wanted the truth to be buried with me. If I didn't have the strength to speak, someone would need to know. Someone would need to protect my children from the lie. I then asked Teresa for a favor. "When I'm gone, if you feel the time is right, tell them. not for revenge, but so they know the truth, so they can decide what to do with it. She promised. Crying, but she promised. The night was long. The tiredness was unbearable. But amidst the pain, one thought accompanied me. Who was this woman? Patricia. That was all I knew. No face, no story. Just a name and the knowledge that she had been a part of my husband's life for longer than I could have imagined. Did she know about me? Did she know that he was married, that he had children, that I was here, dying? Or did he deceive her too, like he did me? These questions were eating away at me. But I no longer had the strength to seek answers. Cancer wouldn't. Give me that time. The next day, Renato came back, but this time I noticed a different nervousness. He could barely look at me. He was shaking as he spoke. Laura, you know I love you, don't you? I didn't answer. I just smiled sadly. He continued, If one day you discover something that hurts you, forgive me. I was weak, but I always loved you. There you have it. The veiled confession was there. I didn't have to ask. I didn't have to confront. He knew I knew. In his eyes, I saw the figure of a defeated man, and for a moment, I felt sorry. Not that it erased what he had done, but it was sad to see someone destroy themselves like that for such selfish choices. I spent the rest of the day in silence, just watching my children who had come to visit. Me. I hugged them as if it were the last time. Maybe it was. At night, I asked Teresa one more favor. If one day she shows up with the baby, protect my children. Don't let them be used in this dirty story. She nodded, tears in her eyes. And here I am now, writing while I still can. Each word takes a huge effort, but it is important to me. If anyone ever reads this, I want them to know. True love does not justify betrayal. Fear does not justify lies. And guilt does not erase the suffering caused. Renato, if you ever read these words, know this. I forgive you, but I will never forget. And I hope you have the courage to be a better father than you were as a husband. Patricia, I don't know you, but I ask you to take good care of your son. He is not to blame for any of this. And to my children, my greatest love, always be honest, upright, and respectful. Don't let the pains of the past shape who you are. I don't know how I'm still managing to write, but as long as my fingers obey and my mind is clear, I'll keep going. Each word I write here is a way of leaving a little bit of myself for those who stay behind. And perhaps, who knows, a source of comfort for other women who go through what I went through. Last night was the worst of all. The pain increased. The doctor came with that sad look, that tone of voice that promises nothing more, only comfort. We're doing everything we can to keep you pain-free, Laura. He didn't need to say anything else. I understood. Time is running out. I spent hours awake, staring out the hospital window, trying to understand how my life got to this point. In a short time, I lost my health, my marriage, the security of what was my family. And now, faced with death, what hurts me most is not leaving. It is leaving like this, with so many knots not undone. This morning, Renato arrived early. I saw him come in with that haggard expression. He doesn't sleep well. He's thin and pale. Maybe the guilt is taking its toll on him. He sat down next to me, held my hand, and was silent. For a moment, I thought about asking. I almost blurted out the question that was consuming me. How long ago? How many years did you divide your love between me and her? But something in me stopped me. I didn't want answers that wouldn't heal me. I didn't want to carry even more weight in this body that already carries so much. Renato then broke the silence. Laura, I know you know. I can't hide it anymore. I'm a coward. I failed you. Our children, everything we've built. My throat tightened. Tears came without me being able to stop them. Why, Renato? Why now? Why weren't you honest when there was still time? He lowered his head, crying. I don't know. It was weakness. It was fear. It was selfishness. I never wanted to lose you, but I also didn't know how to let go of what I shouldn't have started. He told me, finally. He said he met Patricia about 3 years ago at a company event. It all started as a friendship, a need that he didn't have the courage to face at home, that she got pregnant at the beginning of the year, and that he didn't have the courage to tell me. I tried to break up with her, Laura, but when she said she was expecting a baby, I didn't know what to do. Every word was like a dagger. At the same time that it hurt, a strange peace was settling in me. Now I knew. Now it was no longer a ghost, it was the harsh reality. I took a deep breath and said what had been stuck in my throat for weeks. You destroyed our history, Renato. But I don't want to carry hate with me. That's why I forgive you. Not for what you did, but for me. So that I can leave in peace. He cried even more. And so did I. I then asked him one last thing. Protect our children. Don't lie to them. When I'm gone, be honest. They deserve the truth, not more lies. He promised. Between sobs, he promised. Teresa arrived soon after. I told her everything. Every word spoken. Every confession. She hugged me tightly. You are a much stronger woman than you realize, Laura. But then, as if fate wanted to test me one last time, came the final blow. Teresa told me that he had heard a rumor at the hospital reception. Patricia planned to come to the wake. With the baby. The ground disappeared beneath my feet. I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or scream. What cruelty was this? How could someone have such a lack of respect, of humanity? She said she wants everyone to know that her son has the right to be recognized. I stood paralyzed. My head was spinning. My already weak body was shaking with rage and helplessness. Teresa, don't let her do this. For the love of God, don't let her expose my children like this. Don't let her tarnish my last moment with them. She promised she would do everything. She could. But by now we know we have no control over others. Now I'm here, trying to digest all of this, as if it wasn't enough to die young, betrayed, with my children without a mother. Now my wake will be marked by a scene worthy of a cheap soap opera. Patricia, she wants her moment. She wants to appear as if she were the legitimate one. But I refuse to be humiliated even if I die. And once again, I ask myself, how can people be so cruel? Renato, it was weak, yes, but she knew about me. She knew about my illness. And yet, she chose this path. It's not about the baby. He's innocent. It's about the lack of respect, the lack of compassion. I can't forgive that. Now my only hope is that Teresa and my family can protect what's left of my dignity. If not for me, then for my children. Every time I write here, I feel like I'm saying a little more goodbye. Today was a particularly difficult day. My strength is fading fast. Sometimes I can't even tell if I'm awake or dreaming. But I need to record everything. I need to leave my words so that one day, perhaps, my children will read them and understand that their mother tried to be strong until the end. Yesterday, after Teresa told me about the plans of Patricia's show up at the wake, I could barely sleep. My mind was spinning nonstop, reliving every scene, every word said, every gesture of Renato that one day was love. And then betrayal. Early in the morning, I asked that Teresa bring a notebook and a pen. I need to write letters to my children. She nodded, holding my shoulder affectionately. It will help, Laura. They will remember your words forever. I started with the oldest, William. My dear son, I know you are strong, but I ask that you never allow pride or anger to distance you from the truth. Love your father for who he was and is to you, but know how to see his mistakes. And above all, protect your sister. I wrote to my daughter Marina with my heart in pieces. My girl, my light, you are and always will be the strongest woman I know. Don't let pain harden your heart. Live with love, even if the world isn't always fair. Each line was a stab, but also a relief. As if by writing, I left a piece of myself with them. While doing this, Renato entered the room. His gaze was lost, exhausted. I realized he had heard about the conversation between Teresa and me. Maybe Teresa spoke to him. Or perhaps he himself heard the rumor spreading through the hospital corridors. He sat down in the chair next to the bed. Laura, I won't let her do this. I promise. I looked at him, tired. You can't control everything anymore, Renato. This situation isn't just yours anymore. But if you have an ounce of respect for me, do your part. He lowered his head, crying. I didn't want it to end like this. I never imagined that you would get so sick. This kind of justification doesn't comfort me. It is not illness that justifies betrayal. It is not fear of loss that justifies lies. But I didn't tell him that. It wouldn't do any good. At this point, the remaining words should be saved for those who deserve to hear them. After he left, Teresa came me back with more news. Laura, she confirmed, Patricia will come. She said she has the right, that her son has the right to be recognized. My stomach turned. She doesn't understand, or doesn't care what this will do to my children. Teresa looked at me firmly. I will protect you, and I will protect your children. Don't worry, it won't be a circus. I held his hand tightly. Thank you. You are my angel. In the afternoon, I received a visit from my children. It was one of the most painful moments of my life. Knowing that I was hugging them for perhaps the last time, that I would no longer be there to see them grow, graduate, fall in love, suffer, win. It was unbearable. But I stood strong in front of them. I smiled. I hugged them tight. Always be united. Take care of each other. And never forget that I love you, forever. They didn't understand the depth of those words. They still think their mother will resist. But deep down, I feel that William, at least he noticed. His hug was longer. His gaze wetter. When they left, I cried like I hadn't cried in a long time. Teresa supported me, as always. It's not fair, Teresa. It's not fair that my children have to go through this. I know, Laura, but you raised two strong children, and they will overcome, because the love you left is greater than any lie. At night, Renato came back. He seemed determined. I talked to Patricia. I asked her to respect this moment, but she is adamant. She said she is no longer hiding, that her son has as much right as the others. I closed my eyes, then let her come, but let her know that it will not change who I was, who I am, and that my children will know the truth one day. I then asked one last thing, Renato. Don't lie anymore. When I'm gone, tell our children the truth. Don't hide it. Don't protect your image at their expense. He promised. I don't know if he'll keep it, but it was all I could ask for. Now I write with trembling hands. I don't know if I'll have the strength to do more tomorrow, but there is something I want to record here. I loved Renato with all my soul. I was faithful, dedicated, a companion. What he did doesn't erase who I was, and even betrayed, even humiliated, I choose to leave with dignity. I will not let the last memory of me be of a bitter woman. I was love, I was mother, I was strong. Today was one of the most difficult days, and perhaps one of the last in which I will be able to write with any clarity. The body barely responds anymore, the head seems to float, but as long as I can leave my words here, I will continue. This morning was a torment. I couldn't sleep. I closed my eyes, and all I saw was the image of Patricia entering my wake with that baby in my arms. What does she want? To show that she won? That now she is the one who will get it, Renato? Does she even think about the suffering this will cause her, William and Marina? I wonder how a woman can act like this. I don't blame the baby. He's innocent in all of this. But Mother knows very well what she is doing. Teresa spent the night with me. He didn't want to leave me alone for even a second. If you doze off, I'll keep an eye on everything. Don't worry, Laura. I smiled with gratitude. She has been my pillar. I don't know how I would have endured it all without her. In the morning, the priest who used to come here to the hospital appeared. He noticed my state, sat down next to me, and asked if I wanted to confess or talk. I talked to him for almost an hour. I said my greatest fear wasn't death. It was leaving hurt in the hearts I love. My daughter, forgiving is an act of courage, but you are not obliged to forget. What you need now is peace. Let God take care of the hearts of those who remain. Your words comforted me, even if only for a brief moment. But there are things that not even faith can calm. Shortly after, Renato arrived again. His face was even more haggard, his eyes sunken. He pulled out a chair and sat down, not saying anything. At first, Laura. I tried. I talked to her again. I begged her. But Patricia, she is determined. She said she is not afraid of anyone's reaction, that it is no longer a secret, that the baby is my son, and that she will not accept hiding. I closed my eyes. Then let her come. But know this, Renato. I will not allow my children to be humiliated. You have an obligation to protect them. He held my hand tightly. I'll try, Laura. I swear. But I'm scared. Of everything. Of losing you. Of facing my children later. I couldn't feel sorry. Not now. Each of us carries our choices. And he built this scenario. Before leaving, he looked me in the eyes. You are the best woman I have ever known, and I never deserved you. Too late to hear that, don't you think? But I didn't answer. I just let him go with his guilt. The rest of the day was a parade of thoughts and memories. Good times, old laughs, family parties. Everything seems so far away now, and each memory comes with a bitter taste, because I know that I will never see my children grow up again. I will never see my grandchildren. I will never feel the smell of the house again after a cake in the oven. Teresa. He tried to distract. Me, telling silly stories, talking about our school days, our pranks. But there was a weight in the air that not even his words could dispel. Late in the afternoon, she received a call. She left the room for a few minutes. When he returned, his face was gloomy. It was a friend who works at the registry office. Patricia went to register the baby today, with the baby's last name Renato. The impact was like a punch in the stomach. She really wants to mark her territory, even before my body is underground. I took a deep breath, trying to control my anger, sadness, despair. So she won, Teresa. I'm leaving, and she's already cementing her place. No, Laura, you will always have your place. Don't let her erase the woman you were. No one will be able to do that. But how can we not think? How can we not imagine the hidden smiles of Patricia, the pride she will feel as she walks among the people at my wake? I find myself between two feelings. One, out of pity for her, who needs affirmation so much that she disrespects another woman's death. Another, of revolt, knowing that she will have no shame in hurting my children at such a sensitive moment. Foot to Teresa that organizes everything so that the wake is as private as possible. Tell my family, tell my friends, but don't let this turn into a spectacle. She promised. But I know that in the end, not everything can be controlled. Now, as I write, I look at the door and wonder, when it opens for the last time, when my journey is over, what image will my children have of me? I hope it is not that of a defeated woman, but of a mother who fought until the last second. and about Renato. I desire nothing more, neither love nor hate, just that he is a better father than he was as a husband. And may you have the strength to carry the guilt you chose for yourself. I know many will judge me. Some will say I should have confronted Patricia face to face. Others will think I am right in not wanting to tarnish my last moment with scandal. But the truth is that I'm tired, very tired. My fight now is only for peace, for a last breath of dignity. The hours seem to slip through my fingers like fine sand. Each day that passes, my body screams louder that time is running out. Today, I woke up without the strength to even sit up by myself. Teresa helped me to lie back on the bed so I could look out the window. The sky was blue, an almost cruel beauty when you're on this side. As I watched the clouds, I thought about everything I still wanted to say. I wanted one last family dinner, a leisurely hug from my children, an apology for not being able to stay longer. But life no longer allows us to fulfill some desires. Teresa, I brought an envelope. Here are the papers you asked for, Laura. I've already spoken to the lawyer. The letters to your children will be kept with the documents. I nodded with a slight smile. It's not easy to think about the details of the afterlife, but it's necessary. I want to make sure nothing is used to manipulate my children or erase my memory. While she was organizing everything, a nurse came in with a message. Renato was outside and wanted to talk to me. I asked them to let him in. He came with an even more worn-out expression. The eyes were red, perhaps from crying, perhaps from the weight of guilt. Laura, I needed to come. Yesterday I spoke to Patricia once again. I asked her not to take the baby to the wake, but she was adamant. She said she would not hide. She said it was time for everyone to know the truth. I closed my eyes, a deep tiredness taking over me. So, Renato, don't try anymore. Let her do what she wants, but be prepared. Our children don't deserve to go through this humiliation without your clear support. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. I know, and I'm too scared to look at them later, to explain all of this. My voice came out almost a whisper. They are strong, more than you imagine, but the truth always comes out. Don't pretend, don't hide. Be a man, at least now. He was silent for a while, then moved closer to the bed. Laura, I know I have no right to ask for anything, but will you forgive me? My heart ached, not for him, but for me. Because there was still a part of me that wanted to say yes, but I couldn't lie. Renato, I loved you with everything I had, but what you did, it's not a question of forgiveness, it's a question of character. I will leave in peace because I did everything I could. You will have to learn to live with what you built. He cried more. I, now without strength, just closed my eyes. I didn't want to see him in that state anymore. I wanted to remember the man I met years ago, not be consumed by guilt. After he left, Teresa returned. Did he go? It was. But Teresa, I don't want to see it through to the end. She understood. I'll make sure of that. You need peace right now. I spent the rest of the afternoon writing a few more lines to my children, words that I hope they will one day read with an open heart. But I also wrote something for myself, a little text that I asked Teresa read at my wake, if she feels strong enough. Today I leave in peace. Life has given me immense joy and profound pain, but above all, it has given me the privilege of being a mother. To my children, I leave my eternal love. To the world, I leave my example of dignity. And to those who betrayed me, I leave the responsibility of bearing their own mistakes. May my final goodbye be peaceful, and may my memory not be limited to what they did to me, but to what I was. Writing this gave me a strange comfort. Maybe because by putting it into words, I reaffirmed to myself that I will not be remembered as a bitter woman, but as someone who fought to the end for her own truth. As the day grew dark, Teresa told me that the news was already circulating among some family members. "Laura, some people already know that Patricia will appear. Many are outraged, but everyone wants to ensure that their desire for respect is maintained." "Thank you, Teresa. That's all I ask. I don't want a circus." She looked at me tenderly. "You have been the strongest woman I have ever known. Know that." I smiled, but inside my heart was breaking. Because even though I'm strong, I'm afraid, not of death, but of what will come next, of what my children will see, of what they will hear, of what they will feel at that wake. The biggest fear is that this woman, Patricia, managed to tarnish the memories my children will have of me. If I could, I would stand up and face it all, but I can't anymore. All I can do is trust in Teresa and the few who truly love me. It's night now. The nurse said that probably tomorrow or at most in 2 days, my body won't be able to take it anymore. I feel it. Every breath is a struggle. Every heartbeat, a superhuman effort. If this is my last chance to write, I want to leave one more request. To you who read or listen to me, never allow someone's mistake to define your life. Never bow your head to humiliation. And above all, don't let pain erase who you are. The day has arrived, sooner than I expected. This morning was different. There was no pain. There was no struggle. It was as if my body had finally decided to surrender. Before the sun rose, I felt my breathing getting lighter, more distant. I called Teresa. She woke up with a start and held my hand tightly. "I'm here, Laura. I'm not letting go of you. Not now." I managed to smile, even with heavy eyes. "Thank you, my friend, for everything." She cried silently, trying to appear strong for me. "The boys are coming soon. Hold on a little longer, my dear." But I already knew. There was no more time, and for a moment I accepted that. Renato he arrived shortly after, with red eyes and an unshaven beard. He was carrying a crumpled envelope in his hands, perhaps another request for forgiveness that would never be enough. "Laura, forgive me for everything I caused." I couldn't speak. I just shook hands, Teresa with the little strength I had left. She understood my gesture. "Renato, respect her wishes. She wants peace. That's all." He cried more, sitting beside the bed. "I destroyed everything, and there's no way to fix it." It was then that William and Marina arrived, my loves, my little ones, even now adults. They knelt beside the bed, each holding one of my hands. William trembled, Marina sobbed. "Mom, we love you so much." In a final effort, I opened my eyes and smiled at them. My last image would be this, the pure love that I built, above all, the pain. And then, slowly, the light went out. I felt an immense warmth in my chest, a lightness I had never experienced before, as if finally the soul could rest. I don't know how to explain it, but it's as if I could still watch everything from somewhere, as if the words I write now were an echo of what still pulses within me. The wake was scheduled for the following day. Teresa took care of everything as promised. He made sure it was a dignified moment, with the right people around me. But of course, the presence of Patricia was a ghost that hovered over everyone. Renato tried to convince his children that they should maintain their composure. But William and Marina, they already knew everything. Not from my lips, but from the evidence, that life insists on revealing when the time comes. The room was full, friends, family, acquaintances, each one bringing their memories, their pain, their regrets. Teresa read the text I had left. His voice was shaking, but he was firm. "Today I leave in peace. Life has given me immense joy and profound pain. But above all, it has given me the privilege of being a mother. To my children, I leave my eternal love. To the world, I leave my example of dignity. And to those who betrayed me, I leave the responsibility of bearing their own mistakes. May my final goodbye be peaceful, and may my memory not be limited to what they did to me, but to what I was. Tears streamed down many faces, and then, the scene everyone feared happened. The doors to the hall opened. Patricia came in, with the baby in her arms. A deathly silence took over the room. Eyes turned to her, some with pity, some with anger. Renato, pale as a ghost, went to meet him. William, he placed himself in front of his sister like an instinctive protector. "Aren't you ashamed?" he said, his voice thick with fury. Patricia, haughty, replied, "My son has the right to be here, to know the story that brought him into the world." The words sounded like poison. Marina cried, leaning on Teresa. "She doesn't even respect my mother's death." But before the situation exploded, Teresa intervened. "Laura didn't want scandals. Let's respect her wishes. As much as it hurts, let's each carry their own burden." Patricia remained for a few minutes. His eyes swept the room as if seeking approval, but all he found were cold, indignant faces. Then, with a defiant look, he turned and left, leaving a trail of tension in the air. The wake continued in an atmosphere of sadness, but also of respect. William and Marina, hand in hand, they said goodbye to me with a love that not even the greatest betrayals could erase. In the end, Renato remained alone before the coffin. I cried profusely. "Laura, I loved you, and I lost you because of my own fault. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive myself." But tears do not erase actions. The story has been written, and now each one will live with the pages they helped to compose. If today I could leave one last piece of advice to anyone who reads or listens to me, it would be this: never believe that love can justify everything. Love is beautiful, but it requires respect. Without respect, love becomes a prison. And never allow the fear of loneliness to tie you to someone who doesn't value you. The solitude of a heart at peace is worth infinitely more than the company of someone who betrays us. My body now rests, but my story will remain. Not as a betrayed woman, but as a woman who chose to leave with dignity. To my children, I leave my infinite love. A Teresa, my eternal gratitude. And to Renato and Patricia, may life teach them the value of the choices they made. And to you who have followed my story so far, what would you do in my children's place? Would he forgive his father? Would he accept his new brother? Or would you choose to cut ties with the person who destroyed our family? Leave your comment. Your opinion is important. If this story touched you, like this video and subscribe to the channel. May other real stories like mine bring reflection, strength, and empathy. Thank you for listening to me until the end. Goodbye.